Hey, welcome to the Social 333 podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bentley. Today I have Eli Bowman. Eli.
Hey. Yeah. Hi.
Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
My name is Eli Bowman. I am an expert in neuro-linguistic programming. That was not the first thing I did, though. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I still have those companies, but I've learned through some interesting crisis moments that entrepreneurship is beautiful, but it's not the thing that really brings me happiness. What I'm doing now is, and effectively what I'm doing now is helping people uninstall the negative programming that adversely affects their day-to-day life. And all of this happens, beneath our consciousness. So it takes someone to kind of help you discover what that programming is and get rid of that. There are ways to get rid of that, and that's what I help people do.
I was looking over the notes and stuff, and like you kind of struck a lot of things that not only that I went through or currently going through, which is really, really cool. And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs and small business owners that are, in the audience are in the same boat. You create a seven-figure company, you have, over 40 employees. And then just like me, you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? Just not happy.
Yeah.
Like I could go out and buy 50 million guitars and play them all one at a time, and I still wouldn't be happy. I can go out and buy the most expensive, or not the most expensive, but definitely an expensive supercar and drive it around as fast as I can.
Sure.
Still not happy.
Still not happy.
I mean, talk a little bit about that, and then I'll get into the NLP because I'm really interested in that. But talk a little bit about that, just kind of, just realizing hey, I built all this stuff and this is really cool, but I'm just still wake up and I'm just not satisfied. I'm just not happy. There's just something missing.
It's a tale as old as time. We so often in our minds we build up, what life could be. It's like, okay, well, if I just achieve this milestone, the rest will fall into place. Like my happiness lies over there when I get that thing done. Like, okay, let me make my first $1 million in revenue. Okay, well, I did that. It's like, okay, well, let me make my first $5 million in revenue. It's like, okay, check. But then you find that it's like you're always moving the goalpost because what you thought you would find there isn't there. And it's like, okay, well, why is that? And a lot of it has to do with what's happening beneath the surface. When we're born to when we're 7 years old, our brains are essentially like perpetually in this theta brainwave state, which is the same state that hypnotists use when they are hypnotizing people. So incredibly impressionable from 0 to 7. And so during that stretch, we're told and taught things, and things are installed that affect us as adults. And so we're kind of searching for how to fill in the gaps of our happiness. And the reason it feels so elusive is because it's not in the money, it's not in the stuff, it's not in the activities or experiences that you're going for. Those things can be temporarily, they can bring you happiness temporarily. And that's how, why money can, buy happiness, is because it can buy you experiences that bring you temporary happiness. But the joy can be missing because you're searching for the incomplete aspects of yourself where you're never going to find them.
Because for me, I love building businesses. I think it's just fun.
It's fun. I agree.
Yeah. And I know that there's people just like that all over the world do the same thing. But yet I agree with you in terms of the childhood and all that stuff. I had to go through therapy to kind of get rid of that because I grew up in a mentally and physically abusive household, even though some moments were amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I've come across a lot of people, and even Alex Hermosi was kind of talking about it, where he was like, look, cool, that was your childhood.
Yeah.
Done.
Yep.
All right, now we're adults. Figure it out. There's nobody here, right? You had to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
And for me, there wasn't anybody, because my uh, my stepdad built a business actually, but like my mom never built a business. So like, and then my grandfather had his own business. So like, I aspired to be him.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure it out on my own. I did figure it out at a very young age, and then I grew up, and then I was like, oh, now what?
That just on that, I love Alex Hormozi. Love him. He's so direct, and I think he's about half right, because we are adults now, and we do have to make a decision. It's like, okay, am I going to be a child or am I going to be an adult? And you do need, you can't just ignore the things that happen in childhood and just pretend they don't exist. They're going to show up anyway. That's why it's so invasive in our minds, is because it's subconscious. It's in the unconscious brain. So it's going to show up whether we are resolved to just move past it or not. It's going to show up in our lives. So it does require some working out. However, too many people get caught in the I am healing, or I'm in my healing journey, and they just identify with that forever. For years and years and years, their narrative, and you can see it online with some people and on their social, their narrative is I am broken, I am on my healing journey, and it's like that for years.
Yeah,
and that's just no better than just trying to ignore it. And now you're just putting a name and a label on it, and you're making that a part of your identity. So the reason Alex Hormozi is half right is because, you do need to do the work of ironing out what happened to you as a child. But then you do at some point need to resolve to get past it, and need to resolve to be healed. And we can do that.
You talked about, and I thought this was really interesting because I've gone through this a bunch of different times, where you just hit rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then this is where a lot of people quit. They just they do whatever it is. I see it in real estate all the time. Somebody goes to school, they get really excited about selling real estate. They don't spend zero time watching any sales. Now they have YouTube. It's not like when I first started and like you had to watch somebody, right?
Yeah, you had to learn the hard way.
Right. Like I can buy a course. I can, watch Wolf of Wall Street. I could, watch anybody that sells, right? Grant Cardone, right? Any of one of those people that sells, I can watch that. I can listen to DVDs, audio tapes, whatever it is. And then they just fail. Like they don't want to work. They see that it's tough. It's not for me. I mean, I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the times that like you either hit rock bottom, either financially, business wise, whatever it is, and then had to take like a hard look in the mirror and be like, all right, like this is who I am. Like, saddle up the horses, let's ride, circle the wagons, like let's get it going.
Yes. Yeah, no, I will. Some people hit rock bottom. Some people they tap rock bottom and then they go back up. Some people just hit it normally. I slammed on the ground, bounced up, came back down again, hit again, like a bouncy ball. It was brutal. I did not have tools I did not know how to navigate rock bottom. So when I hit it, and that was caused by really a number of things. So it was I was kind of living a very conveyor belt life, where a lot of what I was doing was informed by externalities. So my religion, my culture, my family, all of these things that I thought, okay, this is what is expected of me. So this is how I'm going to live my life, because these are the things I am supposed to do. And it didn't bring happiness. And so when I was in my mid 30s, it really hit this place where I was like, where the heck is my happiness? Because I'm checking all the boxes, I'm doing all the things. So why aren't I happy? Everyone said I'd be happy if I did all this stuff. And so that caused me to question things. And that took me in a spiral that was so steep that there really was no pillar in my life that held up my life that wasn't cracked and crumbling. I was questioning my religion. I was questioning whether or not I believed in God. I was questioning if I should be in the marriage that I'm in. I was questioning, who I even was. It was what I did for a living. Everything was in question. Nothing was off the table. And it was a really dark place. when you're there, it's like it seems like it's never going to end. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
You know
I'm
what I'm
actually
talking
going
about.
through right now. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm also happy for you in this sense. And let me unpack that. I'm happy for you because there's only one other way to go, which is up. But when you're at rock bottom, sometimes it's like there's only enough light to see the next step, and sometimes all you can do is just take the next step. Just put your foot where that light is, and then just wait for the light to show the next one in front of that. And that's how I got out of it. And that's how I think a lot of people get out of it. And that's how you'll get out of it.
Yeah, it's not so much the financial part of it. It's more of the questioning, right?
Yeah.
So like we are conditioned to believe certain things. I'm very deep in my foundation is in Christianity. I took and I still am questioning stuff, right?
Yeah.
Spirituality. Yeah. I'm always looking at stuff. But at the core, it's still, Christianity. And that's my choice, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I can go to any religion. I go to a different church that doesn't even, I'm Greek Orthodox. I go to a different church, right? It's totally different Methodist, right?
Yep.
Still one thing that they still believe in, right? Which is God. It's just really interesting that, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner and stuff, like when the music gets quiet, that's really when the shadows show up, right? So like when you're really busy, you're out selling, 5 homes a month, you got people calling you off the chain, like you wake up and you're working kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
That was my life. So then I was like, okay, well, this is great. Like I didn't have to worry about those shadows because I just go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and like it was just
back to work.
A money factory, right? But then when like the music starts to slow down and get quieter, you're like, wait a second, like I forgot about that shadow over there in that corner. Right. And then you start like
I ignored it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it rears its ugly head.
Yeah, my most rock bottom, I had a ton of money. It wasn't being broke that was my rock bottom. It was everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you.
Yeah. That's interesting. You said like there isn't much light, but there's just enough light for the next step.
Sometimes it's all you get.
Yeah. Talk to me about NLP because I am really interested in NLP. I don't know if you ever, I'm sure you heard of Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
He does a lot of like NLP stuff that he's learned from, what's his name? Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
Which is like basically the grandfather of not the creator, but like the grandfather, the one that made it the most popular.
He's mainstreamed NLP techniques and principles. But I'd love to tell you. I'd love to tell you about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me some stuff about it.
I mean, neuro-linguistic programming is what NLP stands for. And if you people are like, well, what is that? If you break it down, it's neuro, brain, linguistic, language, programming. We know what programming is. So it's the programming language of the brain is really what it is. And it's a body of work that is concerned with how the unconscious mind impacts your day-to-day life. And so people who are practitioners or master practitioners like myself, what we are taught is how to work with someone to access their unconscious mind in a safe way and kind of bridge the gap between what's happening in there and how it's showing up in their life. I tell my clients all the time, completion is deletion. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, when you complete that gap, when you bridge that gap between things that have happened previously in our lives that are still there unconsciously and what's happening in their day-to-day life, when you bridge that gap and you can explain that, and then you can put words and a label on that, that is what completion looks like. So like you've completed the arc. And once you've done that, now you can work with it. It's like anything else. When you see something, when you can get your hands on something, you can work with it. It's no different with the mind.
Yeah, NLP is really cool. I've been, I wouldn't say a student of it, but it's very interesting. Anchoring is really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know, if you want to explain what anchoring is, I probably will totally screw it up. But for me, like anchoring would be something very simple, like this pen, right? This is an anchor. So when I have this in my hand, I feel a certain way because I'm on the podcast. It's an anchor.
Yeah.
I am locked into the podcast.
Yeah.
No different from drinking your favorite drink while you're studying for college exams. That's what I used to do.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
Just over and over again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different like anchor stuff. There's a lot of stuff that can really help somebody like on their day-to-day basis.
100%. One of my so an anchor, for anyone listening that it does not know what an anchor is, it's sort of it's a physical mechanic or a physical mechanism, something you can do physically that invokes an emotional state or emotional regulation. So, for example, talking about his pen might kind of be a way for him to kind of feel safe and normal and kind of in the flow during the show. For other people, and when I was on the client side of becoming a practitioner, I anchored this knuckle right here, if you can see it. So if I touch this knuckle, it invokes positive emotion in me. And so when I am not feeling the best, when I'm feeling a little anxious or stressed or have some fear, I can fire that anchor. And by doing so, it kind of helps me become emotionally regulated, which is nice. So the way that an anchor is done, and just briefly, is at the height of positive emotion, you can establish a new anchor, and you can. I've done this in groups before, where I bring people through a visualization where they're visualizing their life in like their happiest state, and then I have them do this with their hands, and then I have them like squeeze their hands together when they're at the height of that positive emotion. And I tell them I just gave them a gift, and that gift is an anchor. Mm-hmm. And so that when they are stressed out, or when they're in a place where they're not feeling great, they can fire that anchor, and their unconscious mind will bring forth those positive emotions. So
yeah, you can do it with bells. You can do it with any sort of sensory smells.
Right. Anything that involves the body is you can make an anchor.
Have you ever noticed, like, if you go to a sales office, they'll have a bell, like one of those like captain's bell, and you ring the bell.
Ring the bell when there's a sale, yeah, for sure.
And if it's seals, obviously it's the other way around. There's just a lot of like really cool stuff with anchoring. Talk to me about active loop engines and the framework around it, because I have a lot of loops that I get stuck in all the time.
So everyone listening is in a loop, and the loops are self-perpetuating. You've got your unconscious programming, which informs your beliefs, and your beliefs inform, kind of lumping those the last two together, they kind of inform your actions, and your actions will reinforce to your unconscious mind it'll reinforce your unconscious programming, which informs your beliefs. So it's this constant loop that what we're doing every day, we kind of dig the trench deeper. I think about the roads in ancient Rome. They were, all of the chariots and all of the wagons, they all were made to be the same length, and over time, these grooves were made and kind of created in the roads of ancient Greece. And getting out of the grooves was very difficult. And so it's kind of like a railroad, like a train. It's on a railroad track, and the track is fixed. It will always go the same route every time because of the railroad track. Our brains are the same. Our minds are the same. Our day-to-day lives, our habits, our systems that exist in our day-to-day lives, the more we do them, the deeper the grooves go. We make the grooves deeper, and it's harder to get out. And so if you are in an active loop that doesn't serve you, or there are aspects of it that you struggle with, maybe it's diet or exercise, or maybe it's switching careers or letting go of that bad or toxic relationship or whatever it is, you're in a groove. It's hard to do. Everyone can relate to this. Those people who have what I call loops of excellence, they've gotten out of the groove that they're in that doesn't serve them, and they start doing new habits, new systems, and they start changing the loop that they're in. So your loop can be a loop of excellence. It just takes work to get there. So that's what an active loop is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the loop thing is that I realized is having somebody else like scream at you.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people need that. I respond well to that too.
That are like, hey, like, I respond a lot better if it's a guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're just bros. And I'm just like, like you're doing, you're like in a loop.
Yeah,
like
do
stop
better.
Stop it.
Yeah, improve yourself.
Yeah,
I don't know if it goes back to sports and coaches, but like when coaches would get in my face saying you missed your assignment on that play. I played football. You missed your assignment or you were lazy on that play. I needed that kind of barking in my face reinforcement. I responded well to that. Mm-hmm. Not everyone does. I'm not saying everyone does.
Right.
But sometimes you do need a coach. Sometimes that coach can bark at you. Sometimes that coach will be a little more gentle with you, whatever works for you. But I agree. Having someone else identify that and help pull you out is super useful.
I think that's, we had somebody that was on the show, Travis, and he's into brotherhood and Christian brotherhood. It doesn't have to be Christian based, but just having a bunch of guys together that are all towards something, entrepreneurship, small business, golfing, whatever it is that you love to do. And it's like, hey bro, like I'm going through this. And you're like, what the hell's wrong with you, Chris? Like, snap out of it, man. And you're like, oh, like, that makes sense. Like, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Like,
because we are the best at justifying what we do.
Mm-hmm. Backwards rationalizing.
That's right.
Talk to me, last one, about reticular activating system. I love this one, especially with the NLP. Talk a little bit about that.
The RAS, reticular activating system. This is kind of like, you can think of it as the doorway between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So if the classic example that everyone knows is, if you bought a red car, now all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. Well, that's because your reticular activating system is now triggered to see and find red cars, because a red car is in your life now. When people who enter new relationships, they might be, head over heels in love with their new partner, and then everywhere they look, they see love. They see new people kissing and hugging and holding hands. So you can use this brain activity, this behavior, to your advantage. It really starts with expanding what you believe is possible. Your reticular activating system will not be engaged unless you kind of get a little rough with it. You got to get it extreme. So I tell my clients that it's about, you got to 10x your goals. We'll go, Grant. We'll talk about Grant Cardone again. I was just in a room with him yesterday.
Nice.
You got to 10x your goals, and it's like, well, what does that do? What does that accomplish? It shocks your brain into coming up with new systems to achieve those things. I'm thinking about James Clear with Atomic Habits. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And so by 10xing our goals right now, you are engaging your RAS to look for new things and to see more possibilities. People who constantly deny or refuse opportunities, they won't do them because they're too risky, or I don't have the money, or any reason you can think of. They're deepening. Not only are they deepening the grooves of their active loop, but they're keeping their RAS small. So they won't see other opportunities because they're just closed off to them. And so people who keep winning and win and win and win, it's like, man, every time I turn around, this person's winning. They're like, they got this deal and they made a bunch of money, or they got a new job, or they got a book come out, or all of a sudden, like I just see them everywhere. They're constantly winning. Well, because they've expanded their RAS to see and achieve more. So your RAS is almost like, think of it as something, it's like a fire. Mm-hmm. If you don't stoke the coals, if you don't fuel it, it's just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and it'll just give a little bit of heat, and your life won't change much.
I think my RAS is like stuck on entrepreneurship, because like I'm always looking for a new business to start. Like somebody will be like, oh, I got this cat sitting business. I'm like, oh, cat sitting, like I could probably do that. And I'm like, how can I scale a cat sitting business? Maybe I can hire a bunch of people to sit cats all day long.
I know someone has a pet sitting company out of Houston. They do well.
Yeah.
It's possible. You can scale it.
Awesome. Eli, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, wanted to talk to you more about NLP or building a business, anything like that, how would they find you?
My website, elibowman.com. But I'm really active on all the socials. So if you go to Facebook, you just search Eli Bowman, you'll see me. There's a blue check mark there. Instagram, it's eli.bowman. and Twitter, it's Eli Bowman. So I would love people to connect with me. You'll see some personal, you'll see some business, and you'll see some NLP. You'll kind of see it all.
Awesome. Eli, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.